There we go. So welcome, everyone. I'm Laura, and I think most of you have met me, if not in person, through Zoom. And Leslie, you can introduce yourself.
I'm Leslie. I'm on the Ed Committee of the Hampshire Bird Club, as is Laura, and we do the DIY together.
Yeah, so it's been a year. So this
Yeah,
is
and it's
like
been a year.
It's been a year. We started January last year. So I think what will happen from now on is we might repeat some birds, but maybe not places. Who knows? We'll see what happens, what this year will bring. So, and last month we did, oh my gosh, I'm going blank. Oh, honey pot, of course. The honey pot.
Yeah.
The honey pot. And so we had asked to look for red-tailed hawks, rough-legged hawks, horned larks, snow buntings, and American tree sparrow. So I don't know if anyone had any luck. Did anyone go to the honey pot and have any luck? Looks like Carl and Elise, maybe?
Yes, we saw the red-tailed hawk, rough-legged hawk, and the horned lark.
Oh, you did see a rough-legged hawk out there. How nice.
Yeah.
Did you have a scope?
No.
Oh, and you could see it. Yeah, nice.
And we didn't see the snow bunting on that trip, but last month we saw the flock of snow buntings.
And was it at the honey pot that you saw the snow bunting?
Pot.
Yeah, wow.
So it doesn't count for this month, but
okay. That's okay, we'll count it.
And we saw a lot of other things, but I won't go into them.
Did anyone else have a chance to go out?
I did. I saw. I visited twice. Once when the road had thawed, which is kind of touchy out there, and but I did see a northern harrier, and didn't see any small birds on that trip, which is a shame because I love the little tree sparrows and so on. They're just beautiful. And then I went out today where the road was frozen, so was I, and I saw red tail and a few other birds. I didn't see any small birds, with one exception. There was a merlin eating a small bird. I didn't get the idea on that one. It was kind of messed up. So, but those were the sort of highlights of my trip.
Yeah, merlin would be very exciting.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was having brunch,
A lucky merlin got its meal.
Yeah.
Anyone else get out?
I got out. Was there somebody else? I was to say I got out. I saw around the That's a Plenty farm. I saw a lot of American trees, tons of American trees. And another time I saw a few horned larks, but they were flying over. And once they land, that's the end of it. You never see them again. So fortunately, I saw them in the air. Maybe there was a snow bunting in there, but I couldn't really tell. I could just see the horned larks and red tail, but did not see a rough-legged hawk at all. I was hoping to see one. Saw a red-shouldered, but not a rough-legged. So that
red-shouldered you saw, or red-tailed? Oh, red-shouldered.
Red-tailed and red-shouldered at different times, but yeah.
It seems like it seems like a bird of prey place, a spot.
Yeah.
It's like when Jim and I went. Jim, you can talk about our birds of prey. We saw lots of birds of prey.
We did. We saw quite a few. I went out about 7 or 8 times in December and saw a large flock of snow buntings on my first trip, and then a couple of harriers. And then today I had a flock of about 35 horned larks, but they were between the dike and on Cemetery Road, between the dike and the chicken farm that's on the right there. And I saw them land, and then I got out my scope and I scoped where they had landed. And fortunately there was a piece of trash out there. It was like a green plastic bag that they landed near, so I at least could get my scope on them and watch them for a while and look for other things, but that was all I saw. There was a merlin out there near the chicken farm. I looked for the western meadowlark, it wasn't there. But when Laura and I went out, we had kestrel and merlin
Yeah,
and
and bald eagle,
harriers
harriers, red-tailed.
and red tail, right? Yeah, I haven't
And
seen
that's
the,
about it. We didn't
yeah, I
see,
haven't seen
remember,
the rough-legged out there yet this year, but,
yeah, and when we went out, we didn't see, hardly saw any songbirds, remember?
right,
Yeah.
yeah, very
Uh-huh.
few. Yep.
Yeah.
So I
And
saw
Lissa-
4 out of the 5 species.
So Lissa, you went out too, it looks like?
Actually, no, I did not. But I got a wonderful call from Harvey Allen, who went out twice. He was there on the 9th and again on the 24th. And he saw all species. I'm pretty sure he said all species both times. He was looking for the meadowlark again, but did not see that on either of his trips. They saw not a lot of tree sparrows. He said a few tree sparrows next to a white crown sparrow. And they went to the same spot each time. And then he mentioned being at, I thought he said Hatfield landfill. I don't think, I may have not quite gotten it. And then we started talking about something else. But I am pretty sure that all of what he told me, he saw at the honey pot. He said there was a rough-legged hawk in its white phase that came over from Hatfield, and he explained how he was pretty sure it was following the river and flew right very low. He said they fly very low, and gave me a very dramatic image of this hawk coming in and then taking off and going over the Coolidge Bridge. So I think that's about it. He said that he did see horned larks. He said they really love the field that is about 3/4 of the way down the road. And so I think that's pretty much all of his talk. And I was hoping to get out there, but I got back late from being away for holidays, and then it seemed to do nothing but rain after I got home, so I didn't go. That's it.
Anyone else want to chime in? I went a second time to the honey pot and I had more luck. I did see horned larks. And I think the best way for me to find horned larks, I hear kind of their chipping notes. It's kind of I don't know how to describe it. And then I start looking around the sky, and then I'll see the flock flying over. So I think it was about, I can't remember how many, but I never saw them land, like Leslie said. And I looked to see if I could see snow buntings in the group, but I didn't distinguish any snow buntings. And I did not have a rough-legged hawk, but I had the rest. So I made up for the time that I had only the red-tailed hawk, which was good because I went out twice. So it was nice. It's a nice spot to get out if you can drive all on the roads, and not much on the river. I saw a common merganser, but yeah. Any other reports before we go into our next place this month?
We have a report, but it's not from this area.
Ooh,
Our son who lives in Hubbardston, one morning was up fairly early and saw thousands and thousands of robins flying
from west to east
across his property.
Huh.
He took a video, which is about 10-15 seconds at the very end of it, and you can still see hundreds of them. But he said
it went for 20 minutes and it darkened the sky. And
Wow.
if it was, when we saw the video, it looked like thousands just in the 20 seconds. So
was
had
it
to
in the
be
evening,
more.
like right around before sunset?
sunrise. It was very early in the morning.
7:15 it started, 7:35 they were gone.
Because
hasn't
weren't
seen-
you, Leslie, didn't you email me about a robin's?
Yeah, there's a roost in Hadley and at one of the sort of in the near the parking lot of one of the UMass administration buildings, sort of near.
It's called
um,
Venture Park.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's where there's a lot of businesses.
yeah.
It's on the road that goes from where Home Depot is on Route 9.
Yes, exactly, right.
The
You go down
road
that-
goes,
to
the road then goes back towards UMass. It's on
parking
the
lot down
right,
to the right.
about a
Mhm.
mile from Home Depot, and you pull in and it's kind of like an industrial park, but there's, Patty and I went there and we saw like thousands and thousands of robins come in at dusk. It's a robin roost. So if you want to see that, it's an area called Venture Park on that road. And the road might be called Venture Way.
Yeah.
I think I
That's
know
right.
where you're talking about.
Yeah.
But so you're saying that that's gonna happen? Oh, our son hasn't seen him since that one morning.
Oh, no, this happens every night.
So
Uh,
yeah, that's interesting. So it sounds like, I wonder if they move around, do you think they move around like crows, Jim? To different roosts?
Usually not once they find a spot, because they were up in Hatfield for 3 years at a Christmas tree farm. And they were there every year. I mean, for 3 winters in a row. And then they weren't there. So I don't know where they went in the meantime, but
Yeah,
and it happened at Quabbin one year as well, where thousands of them roosted in one spot.
Mhm.
And they are roosting in that spot, but you just drive around the park. It's like a U-shaped road. So it comes off that road and it goes down in and you can drive around and you'll see them coming in. And then you can drive over to where they're landing.
yeah, so I wonder whatever your son saw in the morning, if they were leaving a roost, but it's interesting that he never saw them again, another morning.
Right.
Yeah, never saw him before or since.
Huh.
And this was in the winter time, just recently?
Just this last week.
Yeah. Huh?
Hmm.
It wouldn't be a late migration or anything. Did they migrate really late or?
They can. They can.
I feel like I always see them not in, I mean, this is January already. I mean, it's usually what, November, I see large flocks of robins go through. So I don't know.
It has been warm.
I know it has been warm. It's been strange, and we've been seeing strange things. I mean, all the reports of birds people have been seeing, right? Like the white-crowned sparrow and the honeypot, and yeah, things that really, and catbirds and phoebes, things that shouldn't be around. So
So the roost in Hadley, what would be the time to go see him? Sunsetting time?
Yeah,
Right.
we went over about 4 o'clock. And between 4 and 4:30, they all came in.
Okay.
So, I mean, they might have been coming in before that. We weren't there, but yeah, about 4 o'clock would be good. And
Okay.
you'll see them coming in. They come in from different directions, but they all kind of head to the same spot. Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing to see.
I've
Yeah, I
never
get
heard of
what
robins.
our son said, it sounded more like a swarm
Hmm.
of robins, all just going west
Well,
to
he said it
east.
was constant movement.
just-
The sky was just constantly filled with them.
that's so
And
interesting.
always moving the same direction.
Yeah. Wow.
I've
Yeah.
never heard of robins roosting. Are there other songbirds that roost? I thought it was only crows that roosted.
Nope.
Really? I mean,
A lot of other birds do.
Robin's like the first bird you
Blue-
learn as a
blue-
child.
Yeah,
It is
bluebirds do
wiggle,
as
yeah.
well. Bluebirds do, starlings do, blackbirds do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've even
Yeah.
seen, and I don't know if you call it a roost, but down along a riverbank at sundown, this was down south, the egrets would come in by the hundreds.
Oh,
and
yeah.
All be in one spot overnight
Yep.
along a riverbank.
Yeah, there's along the Connecticut River, there's a gull roost as well. But at one point, this was years ago, 60 to 70,000 starlings would roost underneath the Coolidge Bridge. When they remodeled the Coolidge Bridge, the roost stopped going there. So whatever was underneath appealed to them and when they fixed that about 20 years ago, they stopped going there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen
Mm.
and get up our next do-it-yourself. Let's start doing this. Go. All right. This is this is just a picture from the honey pot. I thought I'd include that in. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, it's a great picture.
Because I felt like this is the only weather we saw all of December. Has anyone felt that way?
Oh, nice.
Like we
Yeah.
have
Yes.
not seen the sun in I don't know how many days. And I find it very discouraging. I think it's supposed to actually be sunny tomorrow. So hopefully it'll be sunny tomorrow. But I had to take this picture because I'm like, God, you know, it's been this weather
Great photo.
continuously. So, all right, so our next do-it-yourself field trip is going to be at Paradise Pond, and I'll let Leslie start. I'll go to the next slide, Leslie.
Okay. My internet connection is really sketchy right now, so my screen is frozen. Have you already put up the next slide?
I did. I put up the
Oh.
slide. Yeah. Of
Okay.
Paradise Pond. Yeah.
Okay. You can hear me, right? Even if I can't hear anything else.
Yeah, we can hear you.
As long as you can hear me, that's fine. I'll just talk until somebody goes stop. So Paradise Pond, as you probably all know, is on the Smith College campus, and there should be a little map. The next slide will be a map, hopefully.
Yeah,
Oh, I
so we're
can't
looking
see
at
it.
the map right now of the Mill
good,
River
thank you.
and yeah,
Yeah.
and the Botanic Garden of Smith College is
And-
right here, and all of the campus is here. So
Yeah. So apparently it's not called Paradise Pond on the maps. It's called Mill River, which I never knew until I found this map. But, and again, I think most people know how to get there, but you come down Elm Street from the center of town, you go past St. John's Church, you go past St. Mary's, past John M. Green Hall, past the campus center at Smith. And at the top, you can sort of see, it looks like a little gray balloon there. That's actually Helen Hills Chapel. Right across from Helen Hills is the second entrance to Smith. The first entrance is closer to town on Sealy, near Sealy Hall. The second entrance, I think it's called College Lane, and the Office of Admissions is there, and my old college dorm is right on the corner. And you come down the road here, and you'll see the pond on, it'll be obvious. That's not the hard part. The tricky part of finding the pond and birding the pond is actually finding parking. There is, when you come in, so you'll see you go past Smith College Office of Admission, and there's a little road there that you'll pass. There's a stop sign at that road. Just past that road, and if you're driving in, it'll be on your left. There's a small parking lot, and you can actually go up there and park there, even though you're supposed to have a sticker. They don't usually check, and they don't check in January. I mean, there's almost nobody there. So you can almost always find a spot there. There are two spots right in front of the Lyman Plant House. Although they're often filled, there are two regular spots and I think one handicapped spot. So there's always that possibility. So once you find parking, and if for some reason you can't find parking in either of those spots, you continue down the road past, you see the Crew House, that sort of blue balloon there, it says the Crew House. Keep going down and you'll see the gray balloon that says Smith College Conference Center. Keep going past, at the end of the road, you'll come to Sage Hall, and in front of Sage Hall, there's some parking. Again, you're supposed to have a Smith College sticker to park there, but in January, you often don't need it. So those are the parking options. And then finally, if you can't find anything, you can always park on Elm Street and walk down to the pond. So when you come to the pond, there are steps near the crew house that can take you right down to the pond. You can stand on the deck at the crew house, great place to bird because you can sit at the bench and look out and wander around the crew house to get to the other side. So you see a little bit further down the river towards the waterfalls, or you can look back up over the pond. And you can there's a little path that runs along the edge of the pond. You see some dotted lines here, green dotted lines. The path starts there. There's also one closer to the pond that you'll see if you walk down the steps to the crew house or just walk down the hill. So that area is a great place to start by the crew house. And you'll often see the Canadas and if there is a cackling, it'll be there. I've often seen the kingfisher go from the island to the trees near the playing fields. So you can start there. You can also get back on that little dotted green line and walk around the pond. There's the Japanese garden, and the path runs closely to the edge of the pond, so you can get different perspectives. You could see the other side of the island. So, and then if you continue the path on that same path, and you can see it goes at the very bottom corner of the image, you'll see it takes a turn there. That path will continue all the way along the Mill River, and it has a couple of exits, one of which it finishes on Federal Street, kind of near the back of the high school. So it's a beautiful walk if you want to go that far. But for birding the pond, the little path around near the crew house, the path around the crew house is the best place to go. So the directions are on the next slide.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention before we move forward, if you continue along this path along the Mill River, it's actually excellent for birds, but there are a lot of dog walkers with dogs off leash. So if that's something that concerns you, just keep that in mind from here to behind the high school. But it is an excellent birding spot, especially in the spring, like the peak of migration, warbler migration. So, all right, I will move ahead.
Thanks.
So here are the directions to Paradise Pond, the words. Leslie, I don't know if it's pulled up on your screen yet.
You can't see it, but if you can see it, good.
So what we've been telling folks is that if you don't know where to go and would like written directions, to take a photograph of these directions. And if you can see, if you are newer to Zoom and you can see our faces along the right side of your slide, you can move your mouse and you'll see options at the very top above the people's faces. And you can click on any of those options and it makes our faces look different depending on which one you choose. And that way you can move our faces up so that you can take a picture of all the words. Just little tips about Zoom. And I'll move a slide ahead if we're all ready. Yeah, okay. All right, so we're starting with Canada
Most
Goose.
of the directions are about parking. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So we're starting with Canada Goose. Did you want me to continue, Leslie, since you're having a hard time seeing the slides, or?
What is the slide up?
Yes, the slide's up.
I'm seeing the the directions slide, but I can talk a little bit about the Canada Goose, and hopefully that will make sense. So I can't see the arrows.
Yeah, we don't have any arrows this time, so that's
okay.
easier.
Oh, I didn't know if you'd add them. Okay, so and most of us are familiar with the Canadas. They're around quite a bit. And lots of them are around. They're a very large goose. They're about 37 inches. So that's a big goose with that beautiful, long, graceful black neck and the white cheek stripe, which is very distinctive. The wings are brownish. The breast is usually white, although a juvenile might have a light brown breast. And then you'll see a little black at the tip of the tail. And of course, we've seen so many of them together, dozens, sometimes hundreds, swimming together and flying in their distinctive V, although sometimes it's a W or kind of an X. And you have a dyslexic leader there kind of sorting them all out, but they usually sort of come into some kind of beautiful formation in the sky. Oh, there, now I can see the Canada. And so the black bill, and I'm pointing this out because I want to make a point when we see the cackling goose. So the bill itself is about 1.5 inches long, right? As you can see the length of the bill, it's about half the size of the head, if that makes sense. So the distinctive features here, of course, are that beautiful long neck, the black neck, that white cheek stripe, the white breast, and the brown wings, the brown back. Are you up with the next slide or?
The next slide, yeah, we'll go to the next slide and it shows just the Canada goose flying.
Okay. I can't see it, but that's the Canada goose flying.
Yeah, so just again, it's showing, I think what's most important about this is that the silhouette would be a long neck. And with the Canada goose,
Yes.
it's that longer bill, the bill being about half the length of the head. And of course, I always tell people when you're looking for any birds, especially like waterfowl in flight, look for the light versus the dark. And so if you can see that white cheek patch and the white underneath, the very white belly, and that very distinctive sharp line between along the dark neck, it looks like a sleeve on its neck. And there's this distinguished line between the chest and the neck of the dark. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Leslie. No, you're all set? Okay. All right.
No, I was going to talk about the silhouette, so that's perfect. No, I didn't.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Yes.
And then I'll move ahead. And again, it's just showing. Oh, go ahead.
It's
Can you hear me
another,
well?
it's another Canada, right? Is the
Yes.
next slide the Canada?
Mhm.
Okay. It's not up on my screen, but I do remember it. And just in terms of seeing them at the pond, they often you find them walking on the island sometimes, and there's sometimes a little spit in the water, the sort of sandy, grassy area that goes out into the water, and they'll walk along there, and of course they'll swim mostly in the area of the pond that's closest to the playing fields. Oh, there's the Canada again. Now I can see it. So there, you see those patches of white, the cheek and the breast.
Okay, I'll move. And now we're moving forward to the cackling goose.
Cackling goose. Oh, I actually can see it. That's great. So the cackling goose is one of 7 subspecies of Canada. And it's the only one that has a white cheek stripe, but and the cackling and Canada were very recently separated as subspecies. So it looks very similar to the Canada, you can see, but it is markedly smaller. It's about 24 inches. You can see already that the neck is shorter and that the bill is very short. So it's maybe 1/3 the size of the head. And the other thing that you might have noticed is that the shape of the head is slightly different. It's a little blockier. It's sort of rounder, a little chunkier. The breast is often light, but there are different kinds of cackling geese, one of which is the Richardsons, which someone I think has seen here recently. That one has a dark breast. It's all dark. And the other thing that you'll notice here, you'll have to look a little bit carefully, there's a white line at the base of the black neck between the black and then the beginning of the breast feathers, that little white line, sort of like a necklace. And that's particular or distinctive to the cackling goose. And that's much more visible when in the species that have a darker breast, like the Richardsons. But mostly we've seen in this area, we see the ones with the lighter breast, and you'll see like 1 and 400 Canada geese. So it's a little bit like, Where's Waldo? In order to really find the one cackling goose or the two cackling geese, you really have to look carefully at them. But once you sort of look for the shape of the head and the size of the bird, that you see that right away.
And
You'll
I
begin
think
to
our
see-
next slide compares them side to side.
Yes, and that really helps.
Well, here's a cackling goose on land. That shows the darker breast.
Mhm.
And then I'll move ahead to them side by side. So here they are side by side. I don't know if you can see that yet, Leslie.
Can't see that yet, but eventually I will, I'm sure. So yeah, so the cackling goose has a pale breast. It's not necessarily white, but that color, that white, pale beige, is variable among the Canadas as well. So some of the juveniles have a darker, more beige breast than light. So it's not just the color of the breast that tells you whether or not it's a cackling goose, because it can vary in both. So I don't see the.
Yeah, so it does show like in this side to side. So the cackling goose on the left and the Canada goose on the right, you can definitely see this huge difference in the length of the neck and the
good,
head
yeah.
shape that you're talking about. Like the cackling goose has a
Yeah.
high forehead. It's not this gradual sloping of the Canada goose, and again, the smaller bill of the cackling goose compared to its head size. And the Canada goose's bill looks like it's been pulled out more.
Right, and in this one, you can also see how light the breast of the cackling goose is. So the color variation from the one that we just saw is pretty marked. So you can't always count on that being the one feature that will tell you whether or not it's a cackling goose. It's really the shape of the head, the size, the neck, the shorter neck, and the shorter bill.
Great.
So yeah.
All right, we'll move on
Thanks.
to mergansers. And so mergansers, they're diving ducks, and they have that thin bill because they'll eat a lot of small fish and other things that they can catch in that bill. And they like small ponds and wooded ponds, so they can be seen at Paradise Pond because there's a whole section on one side of Paradise Pond and the island that have trees. And so it's worth looking, if you can't find them right up front from the observation deck, to walk around the pond and look for them maybe in some of the more hidden areas. And the male merganser is striking with, again, if you look at that light and dark, the male has kind of what I call these fingers of black lines coming down near the white chest. And if his crest is raised, he has a big white patch behind his eye and this kind of distinctive, I don't even know what you call that shaped head. With mergansers, you want to look for these thin bills. That tells you that it's not going to be one of the more other ducks that have the thicker bills, like a mallard, for example, if you think of that. And this beautiful sort of rusty color on the side is very distinctive of the male hooded merganser. Female is a little different. She looks like a lot of people say a duck with a bad hair day. And so she has sort of this rusty colored feathers that she can, that sort of stay messy on the back of her head. And she can raise these feathers too. Again, she has that thin bill. And then it's sort of this gray color going down to the chest. And then it gets a little darker on the back. So very different than the male. And they're small ducks. So I don't even know the size length of these ducks, but they are small, maybe, gosh, half the size of a mallard. So pretty small. The next merganser that you might see on Paradise Pond, maybe more on the Mill River as you go up, if you walk the trail and go upriver, I've seen them there, are the common mergansers. Larger than the hooded mergansers. They're a large merganser. Again, look at that thin bill. That gives you a silhouette that you're probably looking at something different than something like a dabbling duck, like a mallard or a wood duck or something, or a black duck. And the common merganser male if you look, there's a lot of white. And what distinguishes this bird is this very clean line between the dark head and the white neck and breast and going back towards its back. They also have this bright red bill. And you can see in the water, the red feet. The female looks different. She has, again, it looks like a very messy hair on the back of her head. And again, this thin bill, and red, but she has sort of this white, I call it like a white chin. And then there's a sort of a distinctive line between her rusty colored head and her lighter colored breast. And that helps you determine that it's a female common merganser. So I'll compare the mergansers side by side, it's a little easier. First of all, the common merganser on the right here is much larger. So if you're seeing a whole bunch of ducks swimming together and can compare size to something familiar, let's say a Canada goose, which you most likely will see, or a mallard, you can get a feeling of the size of the mergansers if you see them. And you can see this bright red bill, this very strong line between the dark head and the white chest of the common merganser. The hooded merganser has this distinguished line between the chest and the dark head, but will have, again, these dark fingers coming down and the rusty sides. It's not going to have the light colored sides. Whenever I see common mergansers at a distance, I was like, whoa, what's that white bird? Whereas with hooded mergansers, it's not that at all. It's because they don't have as much white on them. And here are the females side to side, the hooded merganser on the left, the common merganser female on the right. And you can see the hooded merganser female, it's more of this sort of gradual color from the rusty back feathers of her head down to her chest, and then just sort of dark overall. The common merganser female has that strong line between the color of the head and the lighter chest and gray back. And again, you'll see that light and dark pattern, and you'll see this sort of light chin patch. Kingfisher is our last bird to look for. And this is a male kingfisher. We only have the belted kingfisher in this part of the world. And pretty sizable. I want to say maybe the same size as a blue jay, but thicker. and they have this big crown on top of their head and a big long bill about the same length as the head. The male has just a gray necklace or a gray chest line. And they have very short tails, very little legs. And most of the time when I know a kingfisher's around is when they make this rattling sound. Sounds a little bit like a woodpecker sound. But if you listen to it on any bird call website, it's a little bit more rattly, I think, than a woodpecker. The female is the one who's more colorful. She actually has two stripes on her chest. So she'll have the gray stripe and then this rusty stripe. Again, though, the rest of her just looks the same as the male. She has the kind of this messy, feathery crown and this big, long bill, the same length as her head, so that she can hover over the water and dive down to catch fish. So they catch fish with their bills, not their feet, like an osprey. And I've seen them flying at Paradise Pond between the island, like you said, Leslie, right between the island and a row of trees, or sometimes over the playing fields. So it's something, if you hear a rattling call, start looking around, and they often will fly past and then land in a tree to, keep an eye out to see if they see any fish swimming by to catch in the pond. And here they are both together, the male on the left and the female on the right. And you could also see they have this like white little dot before their eyes as well. So if you get a really good look, you can look for that. Again, you've noticed how tiny like their legs and feet are. Not a really important feature, just use them for perching and that's about it. Okay, so you have all month until February 7th at 7 p.m. That's when we'll have our Zoom again. And if you could make sure to remember to register, that would be great for us. I'll stop sharing so we can all see each other. And enjoy Paradise Pond and your 5 birds. I think cackling goose will probably be the hardest. Do you think that, Leslie, too?
Will. It will. Well, once you see it, you'll just see it. You know, once you, it'll be really clear. Assuming it, I mean, if it's there, but it'll be very clear. The
Does
difference.
anyone have any questions for us?
Yeah, I do. What is the registration? Where you want us to register? You want us to eBird or something?
Oh, yeah, to register for our next Zoom, if you wanted to join us next
Oh, got
month.
it. Okay.
Yeah,
got
yeah, yeah. And it's, oh, I always forget what the email is. What is it, Leslie? Education@hampshirebirdclub.org.
It's education.
Yeah,
Okay.
education@hampshirebirdclub.org. And you just email that and say, I want to join in the February 7th Zoom. And if you forget, don't worry, because Lissa's great at sending out an email to all members and reminding people, hey, guess what's coming up next week? You know, she'll do
Great.
that about a week before, and then people will register too. It's been really fun the past year to hear what people have been seeing and when they've gone to the different locations to try to find the target birds. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Any other questions?
Yes, me too. It's really.
Big thank you to both. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you everyone for joining us this evening.
Thanks for
Happy
coming.
Friday.
Thank you. Look forward to
Good
it.
night.
Thank you.
Bye.